Welcome to Sidebar, the fun-size episodes from FindLaw. Don't judge me. I'm Andy Leonetti. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm joined by Joe Fabush. Hello, Joe. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hello. Let's go watch some football.
Veda Himetha, are you going to be watching football on this Thanksgiving Day as
I am
well?
representing the missing Laura Temmie as a non-fan of football season. I am here to grimace at everything sports ball related you guys say and offer no input.
I think we have found a topic that can interest you and even the non-sport, because every non-sports fan everybody loves a good fail video. And what we're about to talk about definitely falls under that. As you're, tucking into your turkey and watching a bunch of games this year, I want you to spare a moment and think about Alex Taylor and how he is not enjoying his Thanksgiving this year because he chose to be an idiot and go on a field. And
an animal rights activist with possibly good intentions
made the rounds in October. This guy, Alex Taylor, animal rights activist, he ran on the field at Levi's Stadium, which is where the San Francisco 49ers play. And as he was running around carrying a kind of a smoke bomb type thing, it was
the flare.
Yeah, it was pink smoke everywhere. Mm-hmm. He got too close to the visiting LA Rams sideline, and he got absolutely bodied by linebacker Bobby Wagner. Now, Bobby Wagner is not. He is arguably one of the best linebackers of the last decade. This guy has been, for the last 8 years, he has either been first or second team All-Pro, which means he is extremely good at one thing: tackling, tackling people.
And the irony that Alex, who was doing this sort of disruptive protest in the name of the organization Direct Action Everywhere, which promotes nonviolent direct action, he got
violented.
Yeah.
This video is available from many different viewpoints on YouTube. Just throwing that out there. He goes up against, this is a skinny man going up against a NFL linebacker in full padding.
Bobby Wagner has laid out a lot bigger, stronger, tougher people than this guy in full pads.
Yes. I think the legal point we're trying to get to here eventually is that it's hard to get to because it's so funny to just think about this guy getting trucked over and over and over again. So the legal point we were eventually trying to get to is that after this happened and Alex Taylor was laughed at thoroughly by most of America, he then chose to go to local police and file a police report that Bobby Wagner assaulted him.
Yeah.
This is, again, we like to talk. We just talked last week about, essentially buyer beware, with your ticket being a contract. And just like your plane ticket being a contract, your ticket to attend a sporting event at a stadium is also a contract. Mm-hmm. And it comes with a lot of
assumed risk.
Assumed risk.
This is different.
And that assumed risk is catching a
baseball to your head or something,
right?
Which is different than this. This is not part of the game.
You also, your ticket contract also precludes you from being able to step foot on the field without threat of ejection from the stadium. I mean, he trespassed.
He did trespass, but as we have talked about in previous episodes about trespass, you still owe a duty of care to people even if they trespass onto your field. So you owe a duty of not actively injuring them.
Well,
true.
But
there is a but.
But in our great and esteemed Steve Ellison wrote a blog post about this, this little incident that we will include in the show notes. California does have a citizen's arrest law, which allows a private person to arrest another for a public offense committed in their presence. And so it's defined as taking someone into custody in a manner authorized by law. And California courts recommend that the reasonable use of force is that you inform the person that you intend to arrest them, you specify the reason for the arrest, you make the arrest as soon as possible after you see the crime. So that's where we get into whether or not Bobby Wagner exercised reasonable force in straight pancaking Alex Taylor.
This guy that was like 1/3 his body mass.
He did commit a crime.
Alex committed a crime.
Alex Taylor committed a crime. Bobby Wagner, therefore, had a legal right to arrest him under California law. So did he use reasonable force? As Steve notes in this blog post, it is a clean body hit. He tackles the protester. Security guards quickly take it from there. Bobby Wagner walks away. The protester did get up and walk off the field under his own power. Mm-hmm. So you would think he has a fairly strong argument that he used reasonable force to secure a threat, which also a threat, mind you, who was running around with a smoke bomb / flare or whatever, blowing all sorts of pink smoke in the air. We've all seen the original, like the Batman movies. You don't know what's in that smoke bomb that the Joker or the Penguin is releasing.
That is legitimate because
right, and it could be argued that the threat of possible injury was worse than just a flare or smoke bomb, right? And therefore, Bobby needed to use what he thought, like what was in hindsight overkill, but what at the time he thought was necessary to preclude a more imminent and larger danger.
I'm going to disagree with you and say in that even in hindsight, this hit was extremely necessary just for my own entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there are
courts might disagree.
There are a couple of points you could argue with, but the protester, we'll call him the protester. You could also call him the trespasser. He was getting away from security guards and running around. So there's an argument that he was protecting security guards by doing this. Bobby Wagner was. That doesn't give him the right to just go nuts. For all of the NFL players that listen to this podcast, we're not saying you can just take it out on this. You can't beat the crap out of him after you take him to the ground. Yeah, but taking him to the ground, he's probably just fine. And
but if there had been some sort of more grievous injury that resulted to Alex's person, it might be a different story. Bobby, in a sense, kind of lucked out that Alex walked away more or less clean. Yeah.
But what about a jury? Wouldn't a jury see an NFL linebacker laying out a idiot on the field and be like, yep.
It is a question for the jury. Yeah. Reasonability is often how reasonable an action is often a question for the jury. So, and that's why the resulting injury, even though it's not really supposed to color how reasonable an action was at the time the decision was made, it often ends up coloring it for the jury.
No, that's a good point. And there is something called an eggshell
plaintiff rule.
I'm sorry. Yeah, eggshell plaintiff rule, where it doesn't matter that you weren't intending to seriously hurt somebody if you tackle somebody and
they have a natural sensitivity that you couldn't have predicted. It can still be your fault. You can still be liable.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never heard that before.
If Alex happened to be extra dainty because of some underlying condition that Bobby couldn't have predicted, and Bobby treated Alex like any other person of his size, and Alex happened to get injured unpredictably, in some jurisdictions, Bobby could still be liable, even though he couldn't have foreseen that.
But there would still be the question of whether he acted reasonably to protect himself and others at the time.
So. But it's not, but then the question of self-defense is sort of a separate one, because, was this a reasonable threat that would merit Bobby acting in self-defense? That's also debatable, right? It's a flare. It's a question for the jury, too.
Yeah.
I would also say if you've ever watched pro wrestling, anytime an idiot in the crowd attempts to do the same thing and like make themselves famous, these pro wrestlers are so paranoid that people won't think they're actually tough guys because what they do is fake. So that they always go overboard when a dude like tries to get into the ring. They will always just like try and beat the stuffing out of these people. There's plenty of videos of that on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the legal counsel to NFL players would say leave it to the security guards. And,
Especially because in Bobby's case, it seems like folks are on his side. The NFL seems to be on his side. But in other cases, there are repercussions from at least the NFL. Andy?
That is right. Yeah, we had the exact opposite happen about a week later when now Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams has actually been charged with misdemeanor assault because he shoved a credentialed media photographer on the field after a game. He was exiting, he was heading straight to the tunnel, and the photographer stood in front of him, got out in front of him to take a picture, and Adams sent the guy flying. Big aggressive shove, sent the guy flying.
And the photographer walked away clean in the same way that Alex did, like no major injuries, but
he was a
results,
credentialed media member allowed to be on the field is the thing.
So, he wasn't trespassing.
Right.
Okay.
I think as the citizen lawyers out there do well, why aren't these two cases exactly the same? It's because they're quite opposite.
The facts are different.
Yes, it's because the facts are quite different.
and the photographer was not running around with a smoke bomb. That's an important difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the photographer was both entitled to be there and could not have seen like that sort of a repercussion coming. And Adams, who ended up apologizing on Twitter, he should have seen like the photographer as like reasonably there and not as a threat in the way that Bobby or in the way that Alex would have been a threat potentially.
He was due in court yesterday, but he was due in court on November 10th, but I could not, in Kansas City, but I could not find anything about a court appearance. So that case remains.
Yeah, he was charged with misdemeanor
assault. Yeah.
So it's not, he's not going to jail or anything like that.
No.
But his career will be impacted in terms of the internal disciplinary policies of the NFL.
He's also looking at a suspension, from the NFL.
Yeah.
So that photographer was not an idiot on the field, you listener at home who thinks you can get on the field too. That photographer was...
He had a license to be there.
He had a license to be there.
Yeah, we talked about criminal punishments for Davante. We should probably briefly touch on what happens to you if you think it's worthwhile to run onto the field. So, Andy, like you mentioned, it is trespassing. There's no question about that. Mm-hmm. So you don't have the right for buying a ticket to be on the field. It's a free country, but that doesn't mean
you are not a licensee or an invitee.
Yeah.
You are a trespasser.
You are a trespasser. So that's a crime. And this does go by state law somewhat. So in some states, there are specific laws about running onto the field and what that means. Usually you risk a night in jail. You risk thousands of dollars in fines. You may get tackled like Alex.
Mm-hmm.
You may spend the night in jail. It may cost you thousands of dollars. And then the team is also free to ban you for life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're likely to never be able to watch your team play in person again.
Which is honestly probably enough motivation to keep a lot of people in their seats. Because if you're a diehard fan and you're just trying to run up to LeBron James like that one guy did a couple years ago to tell LeBron that you miss him and you want him back to.
Yes, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah. So, no, that's great. And way to be a true diehard fan, but you will never, ever get to see LeBron play in your favorite stadium again. So, it's not worth it. I support animal rights, but running around with a smoke bomb, I don't really see how that's relevant to animal rights.
Yeah, he
anyway.
was trying to like raise awareness of two of his other animal rights folks that broke into like a pork facility several years ago.
Yeah.
They're on trial. There's a trial or something coming up soon, I think. or was coming up like a month ago. Yeah. For those
I mean,
people.
he to Alex's credit, he accomplished his goal of raising awareness. Maybe to the wrong things, but he definitely went viral.
Yeah, he raised awareness to Bobby Wagner's defensive abilities. I don't know that he did anything else.
Thanks for listening to Sidebar from FindLaws Don't Judge Me. We'll be releasing these every other week between our full-length episodes. Please subscribe to, rate, and review our show wherever you listen to podcasts. And if there's a topic you'd like to hear us cover, send us an email at findlawpodcast@thomsonreuters.com.
He got blown up so badly.
That was awesome.